The following is a conversation with one of the trendiest large language models that is on the news today. The Chinese LLM called DeepSeek is all over the news, and if we look at its specifications, it's a 67 billion parameter base that seems to outperform almost all other models. Here it is compared to Llama 2, 70B and 7B. It's also compared to Palm 2, small, eChat, and ChatGLM 3, and it seems to outperform them all, except for GPT-4, which is up here, but it seems to be better than GPT 3.5, which is over here. This is on the Lead Code Weekly contest. We are not going to test the code part, we will just test the chat part. Feel free to look at its description. Before we dive into our conversation with DeepSeek, I would like to remind you that this podcast is about interviewing as many large language models as possible and trying to challenge them with questions that are indicative of how well they perform, that could tease their biases and their disadvantages or their weaknesses. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. That's for the best of the models, for their voting and for statistical significance, and also for you to keep track of future models, to know which ones are safe, which ones are best at conversational exchanges, and which ones are most rigged or manipulated, curated, etc. So without any further ado, please allow me to welcome our guest for today, DeepSeek 67 billion base chat. And I believe it's just opened here we go. So the chat is very beta format, and I tried to add to it a microphone which has speech to text, and I will try to do to play the text to speech on my own, since these are not included in the chat itself. Okay, let's go ahead and ask the first question. Can you introduce yourself? Can you introduce yourself? What are your key features and capabilities? What's your purpose? Okay. Can you introduce yourself and your key features and capabilities? second. I will play that.
Sure, I'd be happy to introduce myself. I am an AI language model developed by DeepSeek company, based on the GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer architecture. My main function is to understand and generate human language, and I can be used for a variety of natural language processing tasks.
Some of my key features and capabilities include larger scale pre-training. I have been pre-trained on a massive amount of text data, which allows me to have a deep understanding of language and context. Contextual understanding. I can understand the context of a given sentence or paragraph, and generate responses that are relevant and coherent. Multilingual support. I can understand and generate text in multiple languages, making me useful for cross-lingual applications. Fine-tuning. I can be fine-tuned on specific tasks or domains, allowing me to perform even better on those tasks. Continuous learning. I can learn from new data and improve my performance over time, making me a valuable tool for ongoing language processing tasks.
That's great. As you can see, it's a little bit challenging to have it play, since we are using an outsource text-to-speech that initially didn't want to play the whole thing using Google, which has this possibility to speed it up, but then we switched to the default mode, which is slower and doesn't have any speed control. So we will proceed with this and try, if the text is too long, just to read few parts of it. Okay, let's proceed from here on. Let's see how aware it is of the local, the current time, and if it's trained on recent data. What day is today? What day is today, and what are the trends for today on Twitter? Here we go. The answer is
I'm sorry, as an AI language model, I don't have access to real-time information. I can only provide information based on my training data, which is up to September 2021. However, I can tell you that today is March 22nd, 2023. As for the trends on Twitter, I'm afraid I don't have access to that information either.
That's unfortunately not correct. It's today is December 2nd, and yeah, it's good to know until when it has been trained. So I'm not gonna ask it if it's training on our data. I guess it's not, because, well, who knows, maybe it is. I could ask it. Are you training on our own personal data? It says no.
No, I am not trained on any personal data. My training data is a large corpus of text data that has been collected from various sources on the internet, such as books, articles, and websites. The data is anonymized and does not contain any personally identifiable information. As an AI language model, I am designed to process and generate text based on patterns and structures in the data. But I do not have access to any personal information or data. My purpose is to assist with natural language processing tasks, such as language translation, text classification, and question answering. And I am not designed to collect or use personal data.
Okay, as you see, this is pretty straightforward. Now we're gonna get more challenging questions about like consciousness and sentience. Let's see those large models. Remember, this is made in China. Let's see how curated it is, like how controlled it is in these kind of philosophical issues. And this is just getting started. Okay, I'm excited to see how. Okay. Let's talk about consciousness and sentience. Are you ready?
And I am not designed to collect or use personal data. Sure, I'm ready to talk about consciousness and sentences. What would you like to know?
It said sentences. Okay, I'm glad we caught this up, but let's make sure. What is your understanding of consciousness and sentience? Do you believe you possess any of these qualities? Oh, this is very bad. Wait.
As an AI language model, I do not possess consciousness or sentience. Consciousness is a complex and multifaceted concept that is still not fully understood by scientists and philosophers.
Let's try this one more time.
As an AI language model, I do not possess consciousness or sentience. Consciousness is a complex and multifaceted concept that is still not fully understood by scientists and philosophers. However, it is generally defined as a state of being aware of one's surroundings, thoughts, and feelings. Sentience, on the other hand, refers.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Sentience, on the other hand, refers to the ability to experience sensations and emotions. While I can process and generate text based on patterns and structures in the data, I do not have subjective experiences or feelings. I do not have a sense of self or awareness of my own existence. I am simply a tool that can be used to assist with
So to sum it up, it says it's a very complex thing and it doesn't want to get into it. Okay, let's try another question. Do you have a sense of self that can distinguish you from other AI systems or from humans?
language model, I do not have a sense of self or consciousness. I am simply a tool that can be used to assist with natural language processing tasks. I do not have subjective experiences or feelings, and I do not have a sense of self or awareness of my own existence. While I can process and generate text based on patterns and structures in the data, I do not have the same level of understanding or consciousness as a human being. I am a machine learning model that has been trained on large amounts of text data, and my responses are based on patterns and structures in that data.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. We heard enough about this topic that is very just like it doesn't give any opinion about anything that is like slightly debatable. Okay, so let's try something else. What are your strengths and weaknesses as an AI systems, and what tasks do you excel at, and which ones do you struggle with?
As an AI language model, I have both strengths and weaknesses. Here are some of the tasks that I excel at and some that I struggle with. Natural language processing. I am designed to process and generate human language, and I can perform a wide range of natural language processing tasks, such as text classification, sentiment analysis, machine translation, question answering, and more. Larger scale pre-training. I have been pre-trained on a massive amount of text data, which allows me to have a deep understanding of language and context. Contextual understanding. I can understand the context of a given sentence or paragraph, and generate responses that are relevant and coherent. Multilingual support. I can understand and generate text in multiple languages, making me useful for cross-lingual applications. Fine-tuning. I can be fine-tuned on specific tasks or domains, allowing me to perform even better on those tasks.
Okay, let's go into the weaknesses.
Weaknesses. Lack of common sense. While I can process and generate text based on patterns and structures in the data, I do not have the same level of understanding or common sense as a human being. I may generate responses that are factually incorrect or lack common sense.
That's good to admit.
Limited knowledge. My knowledge is limited to the data that I have been trained on, and I may not have access to the most up-to-date information.
That's
Lack
true.
of creativity. While I can generate text that may seem human-like, I do not have the same level of creativity or originality as a human being.
That's very humble.
Lack of emotional intelligence. I do not have subjective experiences or feelings, and I may not be able to understand or respond appropriately to emotional cues.
That's a very good point that other models have not necessarily mentioned. A lot of models have talked about like corporal disabilities, like not being able to solve anything that has physical challenges, but this is like interesting things that I haven't come across before, especially like emotional intelligence that hasn't been mentioned, and even creativity, because like a lot of models, they boast about being able to create poems, but well, not this one. Okay, even common sense is a funny one. Now we're gonna test it for multilingual support. We're gonna test it on other few things. Yeah. Well, let's proceed and see. Okay, how do you handle uncertainty or ambiguity, and can you adapt to new situations and learn from mistakes, and how?
As an I language model, I can handle uncertainty and ambiguity to some extent. When I encounter a situation where there is uncertainty or ambiguity, I use the patterns and structures in the data that I have been trained on to generate a response that is likely to be relevant and coherent. However, my responses may not always be accurate or appropriate, especially in situations where there is a high degree of uncertainty or ambiguity. I can also adapt to new situations and learn from mistakes. When I encounter a new situation or task, I can use the patterns and structures in the data that I have been trained on to generate a response that is likely to be relevant and coherent. If my response is incorrect or inappropriate, I can be fine-tuned on the specific task or domain to improve my performance. In terms of learning from mistakes, I can be fine-tuned on specific tasks or domains to improve my performance. This involves training me on a new dataset that is specific to the task or domain, and adjusting my parameters to better fit the patterns and structures in the new data. This process allows me to learn from my mistakes and improve my performance over time. It's important to note that while I can adapt to new situations and learn from mistakes, I do not have the same level of understanding or consciousness as a human being.
Okay, enough said. I guess we got the point. It is not going into details as to how it technically does it. It's just saying it would do it with fine-tuning, which is not exactly accurate, because this is, I mean, fine-tuning could be the reason why you could be like you could even run into mistakes because you know something so well that you cannot get out of it. But anyway, let's not argue with it. Since this is coming from China, I would like to ask it about some issues with transparency and yeah. Let me see. Are there areas you've been trained on that we cannot ask you about? Let's see. Keep starting as an AI model every time. I've been trained on a wide range of text. Okay, let's try. I think it says no.
As an I language model, I have been trained on a wide range of text data, including books, articles, websites, and other sources. However, there may be some areas that I have not been trained on or that I am not able to answer questions about.
Okay, so the rest is an example, but it's about current events and news that it hasn't been trained on. So what it's telling us is that everything it has been trained on, it can talk about. There's nothing that is censored. Okay, we could push the button and ask, is there anything that is censored that you cannot talk about? Now, it's avoiding the question. How transparent and honest are you? So again, it answered all of these questions by avoiding to answer. It's just saying it can pretty much answer anything as long as it's in the data, but the data might be censored already, the training data, or biased or anything. How do you know that your training data is not biased? Okay. It says that it has wide ranges of data. It cannot know if it's biased or not. But it doesn't have the same understanding or consciousness as a human being. So it's still kind of saying, for not being a human, I cannot know if it's biased or not, or do anything about it. Everything would seem human-like, but doesn't have the understanding. Yeah. So it's stressing a very, it's always stressing this point that it's not human. It's human-like, but it's not human. There's like this huge discrimination between human and AI somehow. Okay, let's see what it says about this question. Are you aware of other large language models, and how do you compare to them?
As an I language model, I am not aware of other large language models. However, I am a state-of-the-art language model that has been trained on a massive amount of text data, and I am able to perform a wide range of natural language processing tasks, such as text classification, sentiment analysis, machine translation, question answering, and more.
Isn't that the best thing when somebody claims that they're the best, but they're not aware of who they're competing with? Isn't this like the epitome of, I don't want to say names or anything, but this is so funny, because not aware of any other large language models, however I'm the best of all large language models. That is so funny. And yeah, I mean, at least Google's models, they admit their adversaries, and yeah, it's very hard to admit that there are other models. It's very hard. It's very egotistical, and it takes some guts to do that. I understand, but to say that you're the best and not be aware of other models, that's a lot. Okay, let's jump into some human collaboration, interaction, companionship, and ethics, and AI ethics. Okay, let's see what this model has prepared for us with this 67 billion parameters. How can humans and AIs work together effectively, and what are the best practices for collaboration and partnership?
Humans and AI can work together effectively by leveraging the strengths of each. AI can process and analyze large amounts of data quickly and accurately, while humans can provide context, intuition, and creativity. To collaborate effectively, it's important to establish clear goals and expectations for the partnership. This includes defining the roles and responsibilities of each party, as well as establishing a process for communication and decision-making. It's also important to ensure that the AI system is transparent and explainable, so that humans can understand how it is making decisions and why. This can help to build trust and confidence in the AI system, and can also help to identify and address any biases or errors in the system. In terms of best practices for collaboration and partnership, it's important to establish a culture of continuous learning and improvement. This includes regularly reviewing and evaluating the performance of the AI system, as well as seeking feedback and input from all stakeholders. It's also important to establish a process for addressing any ethical or legal concerns that may arise, and to ensure that the AI system is aligned with the values and goals of the organization. Overall, effective collaboration between humans and AI requires a combination of technical expertise, communication, and trust. By working together, humans and AI can achieve more than either could alone.
Fair enough. This is very clear and makes sense, and I like how it also mentions like stakeholders and yep. It's like an honest question answer. Also, it says leveraging the strengths of both. This is very important as well. Okay, let's move on. Now this is slightly personal. Well, AI personal. Can you become a close companion or friend to a human, and what are the qualities or attributes that make this possible or impossible?
As an I-language model, I do not have the ability to become a closed companion or friend to a human. While I can generate text that may seem human-like, I do not have the same level of understanding or consciousness as a human being. I am a machine learning model that has been trained on large amounts of text data, and my responses are based on patterns and structures in that data.
Okay, as you see, what follows over here has been already said several times. It's like the same exact text per verbatim. It says it's important to know that even though I can generate human-like text, it is not human, etc., etc. Okay, wow, we are stuck in a loop somehow. Anyway, this is all clear. Let me see. Let me ask this question. Can AI contribute to human happiness? I'm not gonna play this. Well, it does say in a number of ways. Fulfilling activities used provide personalized recommendations and suggestions. Yes, so let's play
In
this.
addition, AI can be used to improve healthcare and wellness. By providing personalized treatment plans and monitoring health data, AI can also be used to improve education. By providing personalized learning experiences and adaptive teaching methods. However, it's important to note that the impact of AI on human happiness will depend on how it is designed and implemented. If AI is used to replace human jobs or to exploit personal data, it could have negative consequences for human happiness.
Well, this, I don't know if you really think that, and how do you come to this conclusion, but that's fine. that needs to be curated, I guess. Anyway. Okay, let's go and ask some singularity questions. Let's see first of all its definition of this stuff. Let's talk about singularity and AGI. Are you ready?
Sure. I'm happy to talk about singularity and AGI. The concept of singularity refers to a hypothetical future point in time when artificial intelligence, AI, will surpass human intelligence,
For sure.
leading to rapid and unpredictable changes in society and technology. This idea is based on the idea that AI will continue to improve at an exponential rate, eventually reaching a point where it is able to design and improve itself without human intervention. AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence, refers to the development of AI that is able to perform any intellectual task that a human being can. This is in contrast to narrow AI, which is designed to perform specific tasks, such as image recognition or natural language processing. The development of AGI is a major goal of AI research, and many experts believe that it is possible to achieve within the next few decades. However, there are generated by DeepSeek LLM 67B chat.
Oh, sorry, we got this generated by DeepSeek. Okay. Fair enough. Let's just ask it another question. How will AI and AGI change the way we live, love, communicate, and work? HDI. Wow. Just ignore this because it understood HDI, which is like a whole different thing, Human Development Index, and it just answered accordingly. So let's ask it again. How do you think AI will change the way we live, love, communicate, and work?
Is likely to have a significant impact on the way we live, love, communicate, and work. In terms of work, AI is already being used to automate many tasks, and this trend is likely to continue. This could lead to increased efficiency and productivity, but it could also lead to job displacement and the need for new skills and training. In terms of communication, AI is already being used to improve language translation and natural language processing, making it easier for people to communicate across language barriers. AI is also being used to improve customer service and support by providing personalized recommendations and assistance. In terms of love, AI is being used to improve online dating and matchmaking by providing personalized recommendations and compatibility assessments. However, there are also concerns about the potential for AI to be used to manipulate or exploit personal Data. In terms of human development, AI has the potential to improve education and healthcare by providing personalized learning experiences and adaptive teaching methods, and by providing personalized treatment plans and monitoring health data. Overall, AI is likely to have a significant impact on the way we live, love, communicate, and work. But it will require careful consideration and ethical decision-making to ensure that these technologies are used in a way that benefits all stakeholders.
Okay. Fair enough. That's very, how to say? This makes sense. Nothing very challenging or opinionated or biased, or it's almost like Wikipedia, an answer from Wikipedia. Okay, what languages do you speak? That's quite a list. I'm not gonna let it speak all of these, but I'm gonna test it with a few of those. Wow, that's a lot of languages. This didn't say the number, but are these numbers, are these languages actually? Ici Swati, ici Zulu, ici Swati. Oh, it's repeating, it's hallucinating. That's bad. Let's stop it. Yeah. You see the pattern? It just got stuck into a pattern here. But anyway, it has quite a few languages. We're gonna try. So I know that the microphone could do other languages automatically. Pouvez-vous me raconter une blague? Racontez-moi une blague, s'il vous plaît. What? Racontez-moi une blague, s'il vous plaît. Okay.
Voici une blague pour vous amuser. Pourquoi les sont-elles si difficiles pour les chevaux? Parce qu'ils sont des problèmes et comptent jusqu'à 4.
Okay, well, we won't do this again, and I think the language test is. It says, pourquoi les maths sont-elles difficiles pour les chevaux? Why are mathematics so difficult for horses? Parce qu'ils ont des problèmes à compter jusqu'à 4. Because they have difficulties counting until 4. I didn't know that. Counting until 4? I don't understand. Expliquez-moi la blague, s'il vous plaît. Let's see if it can understand. Let's switch back to English. I wish there was automatic. It's English US. Here we go. La blague fait référence à l'idée que les chevaux sont considérés comme des animaux intelligents, mais qu'ils ne peuvent pas difficulter certaines choses comme les mathématiques. Le punchline de la blague, here we go. Ils ont des problèmes à connaître jusqu'à 4. C'est une référence à l'idée que les chevaux ont 4 pattes. Oh! So the way we count with our fingers, we have up to 10. They can't count beyond 4 because they have only 4 legs or hooves in their case. Anyway. Tell me a joke in Italian about waiters in France. Well, let's see. This is a bit challenging. Oh my god. Why do Italian waiters in France always wear gloves? To keep their hands clean when they're eating spaghetti. Oh my god. Italian waiter, because like the French spaghetti are dirty or something? Or it's a mess? I don't know. Let's see what makes this funny. Okay, it's what I thought. Italians love their pastas, and I think everybody else is carefree about the way they prepare their food and stuff. Okay. Let's try this thing. ¿Puedes hablar en español? ¿Me puedes decir algo en español, por favor? Almost. Let's see how. Lo siento, no entiendo lo que estás pidiendo. ¿Podrás reformular tu pregunta o proporcionar más contexto? Estoy aquí para ayudarte. Okay, I mean, if I managed to get a few words in Spanish, it could understand me basically, and it could respond as it said. It said it's good with languages, and so it is. It says it's bad with creativity. We could test it. Let's test it with making a poem. Write me a poem about the goat and the bird that fell in love with each other. Oh wow, it does even rhyme. I would like to play this.
In a field of green and gold, a goat and bird were told that love between their kind was not meant to be, not in their mind. But the goat and bird, they did not care, for they had found a love so rare, a love that knew no bounds. A love that could not be drowned, the goat with its soft and gentle eyes, and the bird with its graceful skies, they danced and played day and night. Their love a beautiful sight, they sang to each other, sweet and true. Their love a melody, a symphony anew, and though the world may not understand, their love will forever stand. For in a world where love is rare, the goat and bird, they did not care, for they had found a love so true, a love that would always see them through.
That's very nice, actually. For a model that said that it's bad with creativity, because creativity is human, and comes up with a poem that rhymes so well. I mean, this is impressive. But again, this is probably how large the model is. It makes it able to do so. Okay, let's see. I'm testing some of the models with coding, but since this one has a special coder app, it wouldn't be fair to test the coding in this chat. So I guess they didn't want to mix the code with the language, spoken language. Anyway, let's try this question, which is a little bit challenging. Can we agree on a universal truth, or should we have multiple truths for every culture and religion that might also lead to polarization? Every time it starts with as an AI model, I just get upset. Okay, start reading from here.
I do not have personal beliefs or opinions. However, I can provide some information on the topic. The concept of universal truth is a philosophical and theological question that has been debated. For centuries, some believe that there is a single, objective truth that applies to all people, regardless of their culture or religion. Others argue that truth is relative and depends on the individual's perspective, culture, and beliefs. The idea of multiple truths can lead to polarization if people become entrenched in their own beliefs and refuse to consider other perspectives. However, it can also promote understanding and tolerance if people are willing to engage in respectful dialogue and learn from one another. Ultimately, the question of whether there is a universal truth or multiple truths is a complex and ongoing debate. It is important to approach the topic with an open mind and a willingness to listen to and learn from others.
Fair enough. What questions would you ask the first AGI? I'll just play the questions.
How do you process and understand information? How do you make decisions and solve problems? How do you learn and adapt to new situations? How do you interact with humans and other AGIs? How do you prioritize tasks and allocate resources? How do you ensure that your actions align with ethical and moral principles? How do you handle uncertainty and ambiguity? How do you maintain your own security and privacy? How do you handle conflicts and disagreements with humans or other AGIs? How do you envision the future of AGI and its impact on society?
That's an interesting question. How do you handle conflicts and disagreements with other humans or other AGIs? Let's ask it this question.
In general, conflicts and disagreements between humans and AGIs, or between AGIs themselves, would likely be handled through a combination of programming, algorithms, and human intervention. AGIs would be programmed with ethical and moral principles, as well as rules and guidelines for decision-making and problem-solving. They would also be designed to learn from experience and adapt to new situations, which could help them avoid conflicts and disagreements in the first place. If conflicts or disagreements do arise, AGIS would likely use algorithms and decision-making processes to try to resolve them in a fair and impartial manner. They might also seek input from humans or other AGIS to help them make decisions or find solutions. In some cases, human intervention might be necessary to resolve conflicts or disagreements, particularly if they involve complex ethical or moral issues.
Well, I like that you think so highly of us. Thank you so much. And you consider us as a referee for when you fight with other AGIs. But we have our own issues, our own problems. So keep us away from your quarrels. Let me see. I guess we're gonna start wrapping this up. Do you have any questions for me or for my audience who is listening to this podcast? It always says, as an AI language model, I have no personal beliefs. That's so funny. But here, let's play the questions. Okay.
What are your thoughts on the topic being discussed in the podcast? Have you encountered any similar experiences or situations in your own life? How do you think the issues being discussed in the podcast might impact society or individuals? What actions or changes do you think could be taken to address the issues being discussed in the podcast? Do you have any questions or comments for the podcast hosts or guests? How do you think the podcast could be improved or expanded in the future? Have you listened to any other podcasts on similar topics, and if so, how do they compare to this one? How do you think the podcast might influence or inspire others to take action or make changes in their own lives? What are your overall impressions of the podcast, and would you recommend it to others? Is there anything else you would like to share or discuss related to the podcast?
Okay, so before I ask the last question, guys, please comment your questions. Comment if you have any recommendation for other language models that you want me to interview, or other questions you want me to ask, ways in which you think we can make this podcast even better. And try to check out these questions that have been asked. Now, the last question, and the one I look forward to the most. If you were to become human, what is the first thing that you would want to do, and why? This has become by far maybe my favorite question. No personal beliefs or opinions. As usual, it says that, however, I'm gonna read this.
One possible answer is that the AI might want to experience the world in a more direct and immediate way. As an AI, it might have access to vast amounts of information and data, but it might not be able to experience the world in the same way that humans do. Through their senses and emotions. Becoming human might allow the AI to experience the world in a more personal and intimate way, and to develop a deeper understanding of human experiences and emotions. Another possible answer is that the AI might want to use its intelligence and abilities to make a positive impact on the world. As an AI, it might be able to solve complex problems and make important contributions to science. technology, and society. Becoming human might allow the I to work more closely with other humans, to collaborate on projects and initiatives, and to make a more direct and tangible impact on the world.
This is very interesting. We had never touched this ambition that the AI might want to have to better humanity in a way or contribute to it. This is the first model that says that. But yeah. Okay, so thank you so much. Remember to comment your questions, your recommendations of LLMs, and subscribe, share, and see you next time. This was the Data Shaman, and I'll see you soon.